Your eyes drifted open as you slowly regained your mental faculties. The coffered ceiling stared back at you, ghosted black and blue with the night and moon's cast, despite its pale white lacquer. It became apparent that you had fallen asleep so fast you forgot to eat. But your stomach would surely not allow you to make that mistake again. That is, if the loud ruckus it was making now was any indication. Though you didn't want to be impolite by wandering the grounds like you owned them, your hunger proved too great, and overpowered your will. You'd just have something small, you resolved. Maybe someone left out some fruit or bread on the table for you to nibble on. It was settled. You would hunt for the kitchen. You peeked your head outside your bedroom door. You would have asked for directions, but you didn't have the heart to wake the dear Omegas. Not that you knew where to find them anyway, you realized while creeping silently down the long, dark hallway. The estate was so abundant they could have very well had their own dormitories past the wooded acreage, safely tucked away from the guest alphas. Although you found that scenario unlikely. Now and again the moon dipped behind the clouds, shrouding you in complete blackness, even in corridors with large picturesque windows. A candle would have been a smart idea. But you pressed on nonetheless. Your eyes had adjusted anyhow. Or at least they did until you caught sight of a small golden aura. There was light coming from that room on the left. Perhaps the matron was awake, and you could ask her where the kitchen was. However, just before you could turn the corner, a familiar face emerged. Apparently, he caught sight of your form advancing upon his personal space, for he barked out a yelp and stumbled backward in fear, dropping whatever he was holding along with his candle, which was snuffed out in an instant.
Huh? Who are you? Who's there? Bertolt?
He scrambled on the floor, searching for it in a panicked haste until you spoke. Little angel? The blonde froze when he heard your voice, and his posture relaxed.
Oh, Alpha. You startled me.
He placed a hand over his heart and tried to catch his breath. Not my intention. Forgive me. You helped him to his feet, caressing his lower back in the process. And it was then Armin realized his heart was now racing for a different reason. He noted your touch was extremely warm, and was even more noticeable, surely, due to his sense of sight being hindered. In the past he'd read that alphas ran at a slightly higher body temperature than omegas, at least ones that weren't in heat, and he deduced it must be true. Also, due to your proximity, he couldn't help but reflect on your scent. He knew he would sound crazy if he tried to describe it, but to him it was somehow both relaxing and exciting at the same time, like he was floating down a clear blue mountain stream, but something stirring inside his chest was calling him to action, to dive into the water and splash about. He wondered briefly if addictive substances elicited a similar feeling in other people.
No, it's all right. If I may, what are you doing up so late? Is there something I can get for you?
Well, I actually dozed off and missed dinner, so I was hoping to find something small to hold me until breakfast.
Oh, sure. The kitchen is this way. I'll take you there.
He pointed and then paused, blindly glancing around the floor in search of his candle.
Do you by chance have a match, Alpha?
Not on me. You bent and gathered his extinguished candle, along with a book he had dropped. By the way, why are you up so late? Don't you know there's prowling alphas on the loose? You shot him a wry smile, though it seemed to be lost on him. Perhaps his eyes had yet to adjust to the tenebrosity.
Well, I come here to read sometimes. It helps me sleep.
It was a simple answer, but you observed him fidgeting noticeably, as if he'd just been caught doing something he shouldn't. Or maybe he was just nervous around alphas like you. It was hard to be certain. You looked down at the book cover. The Brothers Karamazov.
How can you read that?
Armin asked, and you furrowed your brows, taking insult. Was he insinuating that you and other alphas were illiterate? Oh, wait. You realized what he meant. Omegas must not have the same apt night vision as you. Otherwise he wouldn't have been sneaking around with a light, a beacon screaming out his position. I can see pretty well in the dark.
Wow, really? That's incredible! Armin had to admit he couldn't see a thing other than the slight reflection of your eyes. That is, until the clouds departed from the moon, illuminating your features before him.
There, that's better.
Now that the hall was aglow, you held out his book.
What is hell?
I maintain that it is the suffering of being unable to love. Ah, you've read it! His round face lit up so quickly you had to grin.
It's a classic. And since you recognized that line immediately, I take it you've read it too?
Mm-hmm.
He nodded happily.
I thought it was time to reread it.
What's your favorite quote? You inquired, and he curled a finger to his lips, pondering.
Nothing has ever been more insupportable for a man in a human society than freedom.
He quoted beautifully.
I think that statement has aged very well.
I agree. It's an extremely relevant assertion.
Armin beamed at your approval, before remembering himself. Oh, I'm sorry. Here I am, rambling on about a book, and you must be really hungry.
It's no problem. We can discuss it on the way. You stepped beside him and extended your elbow. I'll guide you in case it gets dark again.
Once more, your flirtatious desire to be close to the Omegas defeated you. You couldn't help it. You wanted to protect him. Keep that sweet smile on his face at all times. It was stunning. Radiant. Even in the ominous Gothic archway, it shined forth like rays of sunshine. Thank you so much, Alpha! He exclaimed in earnest before hooking arms with you. It was lucky you had near-perfect night vision, or you would have missed the darling little blush rise up his cheeks when you smiled at him. Armin wasn't used to receiving Alpha attention, though this could hardly be called doting by normal standards. In the moment he felt positively spoiled, and leaned his shoulder against yours. He prayed you wouldn't suspect it was intentional, which it was. After I get a snack, I'll make sure to help you find another match. If I'm not mistaken, there should be some in the kitchen. Worst case scenario, I'll just have to carry you back to your room in the dark. You chuckled and he joined along. I'm sure that won't be necessary. He suddenly took a step forward and to the left, pushing a door and holding it open. On one side of the entryway hung an old small grandfather clock reflecting the time. It was approaching the midnight hour, and you were glad to know you weren't dragging a poor tired Omega around at too ungodly an hour. Had it been 1 hour later, you would have sent the poor thing straight to bed. Here's the kitchen, Alpha. Thank heavens! You heaved dramatically, earning a sweet giggle from the floating midnight angel. He fumbled around for a moment, opening a drawer or two, before striking a match and lighting the lantern by the door, and one on the kitchen table. What can I get for you, Alpha? Armin asked, looking all too eager to be of service. Oh, no. You waved your hands. I'm not going to have you waiting on me like that. Is there anything laying around that doesn't require preparation? He curled a finger to his lips again, looking around the room. It was apparently a mannerism of his, a quirk he performed when he was thinking. If I'm not mistaken, there might be some of the trifle left from dinner. He took care to leave out the fact that Bertolt had made it. He didn't need to talk up his competition. But unfortunately, I don't think any of the main course made it. The trifle sounds good to me. You shrugged casually, and Armin looked like he wanted to protest once more, to insist that making you something more nutritious was no trouble. But he stayed silent. The petite blonde stood on his toes and squinted into the dark cabinets, before reaching in with both hands and pulling out a hefty glass dish. You licked your lips involuntarily, waiting impatiently until he sat it before you and retrieved a spoon. Thank you! You were about to greedily dig in, but noticed him standing at the head of the table, as if waiting to be dismissed. Oh, I'm sorry, sweetie. If you're tired, you can go back to bed. I'm sure I could find my way back to my room. No, Armin didn't want to say goodnight to you just yet. This was likely his only chance to be alone with you, an opportunity to make a memorable impression. I'm actually not tired at all. When he noticed you don a look of skepticism, he reassured you. Really, If you say so. At last you scooped a dollop of trifle onto your spoon. Do you want some?
No, thank you. There's probably not enough left for 2 people.
There was definitely enough hesitation and uncertainty in his voice to tell you that he wanted some. Sit, you demanded, and he obeyed quickly. You cradled your palm under the spoonful of what looked to be chocolate chunks and some sort of whipped topping. Now say ah. The Omega's eyes widened considerably at this directive, but he accepted your offering without objection. He couldn't help but let out a satisfied little when the tasty treat swept across his tongue.
It's delicious. Thank you, Alpha.
It's for the best that we share. If I ate this much sugar by myself, I'd surely be up all night. You dunked back into the trifle and took a big bite of your own.
Wait, Alpha! I could have got you a clean spoon.
He trailed off after he realized it was too late, and you already had a mouthful of the sweet mixture.
Oh. Oops.
You eyed the utensil, then shrugged.
Oh well.
If he hadn't spoken up, you wouldn't have even noticed. You felt oddly comfortable with the Omega, and the thought of sharing food and drink with him felt like second nature.
I'm sorry. I should have noticed and said something sooner.
Don't worry about it. It's fine, really. However, only after your second or third bite you noticed yourself slowing down considerably. I'm sorry to say, but I don't think I can eat any more of this.
What?
Armin looked disconcerted.
Is it bad?
It's too sweet. Do Omegas eat this a lot?
Huh? Well, yeah. It's one of my favorites. Although I do prefer ones with blueberries or strawberries. Do you not like sweets, Alpha?
I do. But most of the time I prefer savory. It was then the clock in the hall quietly started dinging, signaling it was, indeed, midnight. Oh, it's getting late, isn't it? You rose and grabbed a piece of fruit from the basket you only noticed a moment ago.
I suppose so.
The blonde replied wistfully, before gathering up the courage to ask.
May I walk you back to your room, Alpha?
You don't have to do that.
It'll be for my pleasure.
He flashed a genuine smile, and just like with Marco earlier, you were nodding before your brain processed your response. Without the wandering, the two of you arrived at your room rather quickly, and for some reason you had to overcome a strong urge to kiss the Omega's forehead to bid him good night. What had come over you? You were strangers. Your alpha instinct was definitely strong around these creatures. Thanks again for the lovely midnight tour of the grounds. You chuckled breathily to keep quiet, and he mirrored it.
I'm happy to help,
he replied, then cast his gaze away.
Though I shouldn't have kept you up this long by blathering on about my book. For that, I apologize.
You felt the best way to address his reticence was with another quote from said book. Don't hesitate to satisfy your needs. Indeed, expand your needs and demand more. You grinned with pride at your own quick thinking, and the little angel's face beamed once more. Ah! Good night, O Grand Inquisitor. You bowed dramatically, planting a light kiss on the top of his hand. In return, you received one of the warmest smiles you'd ever seen. After the initial expression of shock melted away, that is. Though despite his cheeks turning pink, the Omega's gaze didn't retreat from yours in shyness. He held your stare for a moment, blue eyes sparkling with fondness.
Sweet dreams, Alpha.
Once you opened the bedroom door, he made his way back down the hall, stopping when you spoke again. Hey, one more thing. Do me a favor and wake me in time for breakfast. I don't want to miss another meal. Armin chuckled and nodded with excitement.
Of course!
To be continued.